Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of My Faith with Homer and Pip. Homer?
I always start with Mother Teresa, and I've stated many times, she's famous to me for saying my secret is a very simple one: I pray. And then one day, since people asked, more please, she said, prayer is not asking. Prayer is putting oneself in the hands of God at his disposition and listening to his voice in the depths of our hearts. Tommy?
Wow. Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing it, Homer. And so often in life, I feel this, perhaps you do out there, everybody, that we get upset with God. We have challenges. Why this? Why that? Well, Mother Teresa certainly had them. All those years of dryness spiritually, never heard from God, and yet she was steadfast. And I think we can say the same about our guest on My Faith with Homer and Pip. Her name is Molly Cruz. She has a wonderful story. She's been kind enough to share it with all of us as we work on this together, our spiritual journey to and through the cross. I'm Tommy Pippins. The Holy Spirit and Homer came up with this endeavor, and our erstwhile producer is Brett Young. Homer, get us teed up, buddy.
All right, Molly, it's pretty simple. This is your, what I like to call spiritual resume, but you choose not only what to say, but how to start.
Well, my story goes way back. I was brought up in the Catholic Church, so we were always going to church, and God was a big part of our lives when we were little. I kind of went off course a little bit when I was younger and had my own trials and tribulations, and found God again and got back on the right track. And a big part of my adult life, I worked with special needs kids for my career. I also worked with a family that had 3 special needs kids with disabilities ranging from mild to very severe, and I'm still in touch with the family now. And then I was blessed with a child with special needs, which in turn almost made me question God all over again. I had to keep myself very focused and on top of things and not let it get to me so hard. So I kind of shoved all my feelings real deep down. He had a lot of struggles in the beginning, so I really didn't have time to process the whole situation. And all I kept hearing from people was God, gave Cameron the best parents. You were the best parent for him because you had such experience. So I had that pressure kind of on my shoulders of I can handle it, I know what I'm doing and this and that. But when it's your own child, there's no handbook with it. You create the handbook. So I did go back and forth a lot with questioning God why, but then he would show me that he is there with us because we would get through some really big hurdles. Sorry. And it just kind of been like a revolving door like that. And then I get mad at myself for questioning my faith with it. So it's kind of a battle within myself.
All right, let's go back to when you said, I found God again. It's part of your family's life, then you drifted. And my answer always, at some point, it becomes your life, not your family's life. So how did you find God again? Because I'm not sure that necessarily happens to many people.
Well, I went back to church and I went to just looking, I question, if he's there, but he is always there, because I was at quite a bit of despair where I didn't want to live at a moment, and I had to not pray for the answers, but pray for the courage and the strength and the help to get through it. And eventually I did. So it may not have been handed to me in a gift box, but he was there with me through it all. Otherwise I wouldn't be here.
I usually save this for later, but it seems to fit. So in your life, when have you felt the closest to God?
I felt the closest to God, you like when I felt myself again, because I also deal with my own mental health issues. And I knew I wasn't myself before the diagnosis. Like I could tell that, like, just me as a person, it wasn't me. And then when I felt myself kind of like be reborn in a sense, I don't know how to explain it. But it was like he said, no, like basically, like you were in there the whole time, you just got lost. So,
And the tougher part, when have you felt the furthest from God?
um, again, that kind of comes in waves, but when I was at my worst, when I was younger, before I found out my diagnosis and was able to find the proper help and medication and stuff like that, um, I felt the furthest because I felt so far from my own heart and soul that it just wasn't all meshing together. Like I couldn't see the hope. You know what I mean? I was deep in the valley. um so when that happened and I did get the help, then I started feeling myself again, and I was that person who I've always been deep inside. And then when Cameron was born, um it kind of hit me again, but not right away. Like it was good. Like I said, I put on that shield and I fought his battles for him and I advocated for him and I did everything I could. I was at the hospital every day because he stayed at the hospital for about, oh God, 2 months when he was born. He basically lived there and I basically lived there. And I listened to a lot of K-Love at the hospital. And I did a lot of praying and I, read a lot of books and stuff. And then things felt okay. And then he ended up having these infantile spasms. And that's where I just that put me back over the edge. And I questioned God all over again. Like, he's already been through so much. Why is he going through this? You know what I mean? But God got him through it in the end. So, I mean, I think he likes like testing me sometimes, but
But
he always,
I asked, you always went back to him, or God was always a part of it. You could have given up and you didn't. What made you always say and consider giving him another chance and then another chance and then another chance?
because he gave me another chance. Like through it all, like he didn't let me fall completely. He helped like guide me back to where I needed to be. And that's something that is going to be a forever thing. He is, even if you don't feel that he's with you, he is with you even at your darkest times. And I feel like silly crying, but it's just there's been a lot of hard times, but he hasn't like given up. I mean, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's just we have to get through the tunnel. And I know that when I'm going through things, I'm not alone. Otherwise, I would be completely lost all over again.
If you wish, it's up to you, because this isn't necessarily my faith, but any information about your diagnosis and the particulars of your child, if that would help people understand kind of the things you're talking about, but only at your.
That's okay. I'm not ashamed of it. I mean, it is what it is. For myself, I was diagnosed with bipolar when I was 19, I believe. But leading up to that, there was a lot of ups and downs, and we couldn't figure out what was going on. And I was almost grateful that I did find out that, and that's another thing that, I feel like looking back, like God helped me find out what it was that was going on so I could get the proper help and guidance. And my son Cameron has Down syndrome, and he's 5. And Down syndrome is I mean, there's a lot of stuff that can come with Down syndrome in terms of medical situations, and sometimes you find a even dual diagnoses with it, and that's a forever evolving situation, because you get through one hurdle and you get to one milestone, which is like glorious, and then you have a whole nother hurdle to try to navigate and get through. And I also didn't think I could have children. We gave up trying to have kids, and God knew how much I wanted children, and he gave me one extraordinary child. So I'm grateful for that, and I'll forever be grateful for that. So I can't be mad at God for the stuff that Cameron's going through, because there must be a plan, and he knows he's going to get through it. That's the only thing I can think of, because every hurdle we had, it may have taken a while, but Cameron does overcome so much. And that shows me that, don't take for granted the things you do have, because some people aren't just given that. They have to work at that. So
I don't know if this is true, and then I'll give to Tommy, but I just can imagine you at some point praying to God, like, come on, like, come on, like, I'm struggling. Well, what? Just this, and then this, this, like, come on, just give me a pass for a little. Accurate?
Yeah, yes, very accurate. So my son, he needed the heart surgery when he was born, and we got through that. And luckily, again, God did grant me the wish that it wasn't open heart. It was laparoscopically, like through his belly button. So there, he answered that prayer. I mean, he does give a little bit through it all, because it could have been worse. It could have been a lot harder. God answered our prayers of Cameron eating, because just in the last year, he's been eating solid foods. It's just, I have to be patient. He didn't, like, the world wasn't built in a day. So, but yeah, he still has his G tube, in fact, but all the hard work and all the blood, sweat, and tears we put into it, he's now eating solids, and we barely use the tube. So we're looking at that coming out. I definitely questioned him when he started having seizures, like, are you serious right now? But he also cured him of that. I mean, he got through it, and the infantile spasms are gone, and knock on wood, he hasn't had seizures since the treatment that he was on for that. Right now, we're just dealing with the language barrier, and I know that God sees the struggle we go through that. I know that he sees Cameron's struggle through that, and I know that he's helping guide that too. It's just, we have to be patient and trust the process.
Of all,
I can't be mad at
God.
There's a t-shirt, Homer. I can't be mad at God.
Tommy, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. But I was just going to say, there's the t-shirt. I can't be mad at God. I love it. Go ahead, please finish up.
Of all, what's been the hardest?
I think the hardest is the pressure I put, like, on myself about everything. I'm constantly trying to make sure I'm advocating and making the right choices, not only for him, but for us as a family, because it has taken a toll on even our marriage and our relationship, because we're both torn in so many different avenues. And you try to, like, talk to other individuals and other family members about it, and it's kind of hard, because everyone's like, oh, think positive and, be positive. And it's not that we're not positive about it. Like, we're super ecstatic, especially when, like, we do reach those milestones, and Cameron doesn't know any different, but I feel the pressure on us as parents to make sure, I mean, on any parent to make sure you're doing right for your children. But when you have all these other elements playing into it, it kind of elevates that like heightenedness of, am I doing what I need to? And am I doing enough?
Yeah, I would think you could tell those people, this is hard. No, this is like really hard. And Tommy, take it away.
Molly, first of all, it's so wonderful of you to be transparent because it will bless others. And again, we pray it will bless you too. Um, did you ever think that you would be sitting here today? Were there those times when you wondered if you could go on another day, another moment, even given all the challenges going back to your own with the bipolar and right through Cameron's birth and then what he had to go through?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it does definitely come in waves. And I do feel like, and this has always puzzled me, um, but it's almost like a forever grieving cycle for us.
Mm.
Um, and I hate saying that because then that makes me feel like a bad mom or a bad parent for thinking that way, because we love him so much and we are so grateful to have him because we were gifted that. I mean, some individuals never get that gift of a child. Um, but you do grieve what you think it could have been, not only for us as a family, but for him. Like now that he's getting older, I see like him noticing his differences almost, especially around peers. And there were times where I just like, it wasn't that I wanted to like give up on life completely, but I would feel myself shutting down because it was just too overwhelming, like almost like in that freeze, like you're just frozen.
For those who are going through, who have gone through, will go through that similar pain and anguish, would you talk about your faith and in the midst of all of that, God's mercy and grace to walk through it?
Well, that's like, and I would reach out a lot and go to church when I'd feel real like low. And I started bringing Cameron to church and it felt really good. It almost felt like he was speaking directly to me through the pastor, the priest and stuff. And unfortunately, with me adding work in it, now it's just our time is kind of consumed. I never would say there's not enough time to go to church, but you don't have to be in a building to reach for God and ask him to help guide you. Um, and the bottom line is I just have to trust that he is with us through all this and he's not going to let us fail. And if we feel like we're failing, he's going to help guide us to get through to where we need to go, to get past what's in front of us. And it's not all bad. I mean, I don't want to sound like that. It's just, for us, it's real. You know what I mean? And like individuals on the outside looking in, they see it for a little bit, but they don't know the behind the scenes. They don't know the everyday like calls and therapies and appointments. And I mean, we used to chart down to the calorie of what Cameron was eating just to make sure. I mean, it's just elevated and we just have to trust that we're doing our best as parents and that God's helping guide us through it. And way back in the past, like he didn't let me like take my life. You know what I mean? Even if I felt that way, he guided me to get the help I needed to not feel that way and to be able to work through my own illness that I'm dealing with, and I know a lot of people out there are dealing with it too. So you shouldn't be ashamed of it and you should definitely get the help you need for it. And talking about it, I think, takes away the stigma of it.
Molly, at times I can only imagine you can't see the forest through the trees. And I do agree with what you said earlier, by the way. God gives the most special children to the greatest parents because he knows they will love and raise up. Um, Through all these trials and the tribulations, and I can't imagine what you've learned from Cameron. Maybe you want to talk about that and how he's taught you, perhaps, to love even more deeply in a Christ-like fashion.
Yeah, I mean, it's that perseverance, it's that pushing through it. It's that, you know, like Homer was saying about Mother Teresa. I mean, her life wasn't easy, but she kept continuing pushing through. And Cameron, like, I mean, I can't imagine how hard it is for him. I mean, just a day in school, it's different for him. Like he's different. Like he's different, but he's alike because he wants to do the same things that all his other peers are doing, but it takes that much more work for him to do it. And I wish I could hear from him how he feels about it, but he's still nonverbal at this moment. But I can see, like, when he does accomplish something, like how proud he is, how grateful he is that he's able to do it. And he's taught me complete resilience. I
Hmm.
mean, he's so resilient when it comes to any situation he's in.
Hmm.
I mean, he's had more surgeries than I've had in a lifetime, just in the last few years. And he's not, I mean, granted, he probably doesn't realize what's going on, but he's not scared. He's strong. He gets through it. And I feel like that's God kind of giving him an extra, like, blanket around him to help him get through that too. Because, like I said, I mean, and things always could be worse. I know that. I mean, that's what people tell me all the time, but that's something where think in my head, it could always be better too. And
Hmm.
that's a struggle I have to work through.
Hmm. Do
So,
you ever allow yourself in just a moment, Molly Cruz, our guest on My Faith with Homer and Pip, with the Homer and our producer, Brent Young? I'm Tommy Pippins. Do you ever allow yourself, Molly, the opportunity to see how God is using Cameron to
um,
impact people
I
for Christ?
do. In fact, I do. I mean, I've seen him, like, change, like, people's days just when he sees them. Like, he can put a smile on anyone's face when he's around. And um it's made us change as to be appreciate a lot of what most people take for granted. And I think it's like he shows the strength within to people when you don't have it. Like, I can't be a puddled mess. I mean, I'm not going through half of what he's going through, to where, like, God's given him the strength, which is passing on the strength to us. Which I had a neighbor once tell me that, Cameron's going to change the world. Or he said to me once, Cameron's going to really make a difference for your family, and not just me and my husband, but the immediate family, because he's going to teach lessons that we wouldn't have to encounter. And I think it also shows, like, at school, we were very nervous about him going to school, but his peers have so, like, embraced him. So he's teaching them how to embrace differences.
Mhm. Yeah, God
And
is at work through your son, isn't he?
yeah, he is. And I've heard that before. So
Well, I knew from the first time I heard your voice, especially where you were when I heard it for the first time. I said, this woman loves and serves. Tell people, please, what you do when you're not an amazing mom and wife, and how Cameron maybe has helped you be even more empathetic with those you do love and serve with the gift that you have, Molly.
yep. So like I said, I was a special education assistant for over a decade. in the schools and did respite. And then I did have to kind of put my career on the back burner when he was born, because I had to jump into that role, and he needed me more than I could serve others at that time. And I mean, I almost became like a medical mom on top of being just a parent. And then when he went to school finally this year, like more full time, he went almost the whole week, full days. I was able to get back into the workforce. And I went back to teaching at first because that was always my like love and gift. You know, I loved working with the children, especially in special education, which was always kind of humorous to me because it was like God did pave my path for the future with my past. And so when I went back to the field of teaching, it kind of was a little too much because I would come home and have to continue it with Cameron, and it was kind of wearing on me giving him my all when it came to that. So I did, when I found out I was pregnant, I was in the process of getting my CNA license, and we didn't think we could get pregnant. So I thought, oh, I'm going to just switch up and go into nursing school and all this stuff. But of course, when I found out I was pregnant, and then after he was born, I had to put my education on hold. But I did follow through with my CNA, which again, I think God kind of created that path to prepare me to be able to take care of Cameron. I mean, there's always these little things I look back and it's like, you know, he almost like trained me for this position we're in, as being special needs parents. And anyways, I ended up having a little bit of I would say like a mini meltdown this past winter. And I thought, you know, I just can't give my all to my students anymore like I used to, because it started like kind of making me foresee the future for Cameron, which was not even like logical, but it just how my mind worked. And I said, you know, I want to go work in a hospital where I can treat individuals and patients the way we were treated all those years in the hospital with Cameron, and be able to kind of pay it forward and give it back that way. And I absolutely love what I do now. I'm a CNA at Waukesha Memorial Hospital, and I absolutely love it. It feels good caring for my patients the same way we were cared for when we were in the hospital. And yeah, it feels good to like make their stay during a hard time in their life a little bit better.
Hmm. I want to get it back to Homer because I know he has more for you, but I would just finish up with a couple of questions. First of all, by the time this is seen and heard, this wonderful event at Life Striders coming up this particular Saturday in late June will have passed. But you can talk about how perhaps people can fundraise, but talk about the joy that you see Cameron, your beautiful son, gets when he goes there for with the therapeutic horses, if you will, in Waukesha
Yes.
Life Striders.
Yep, Life Strider. He absolutely loves it. I mean, you can see he has like whole body excitement. Like the minute he sees that horse, and he loves his therapist there, and everybody that works and volunteers at Life Striders makes such a difference for people. It's just unbelievable. It's an amazing place. The horses, I mean, it can change up a child or an adult, even for that matter's whole day, just by like hopping on that horse and just forgetting about everything as it's working, like working them out. They don't even realize it. That's one thing too with Cameron, is he absolutely loves his therapies because I think he realizes that it is making a difference for him and helping him to learn. And yeah, Life Striders is an amazing place, right?
Mm-hmm. That's your husband back there?
Yeah, he
Good.
was. He just
Give him our best.
volunteered.
Tell him to give us a wave, will you?
Hi,
There
everybody.
he is. Good to see you. Thanks for
Yeah.
being an awesome husband and dad.
Yeah.
How can people give to the cause even after the event? Can they do that, Molly?
Oh gosh, yeah. I think if you would just go to LifeStrider's website, they're always in need because they are funded mostly on donations and volunteers and stuff. And I think that's a forever thing. Like if anybody ever wanted to donate or anything, I think you could just go right to their website. Just LifeStriders. I think it's lifestriders.org. Sorry, I should have got all this stuff.
No. I kind of tossed that one at you. They'll find it. Life Striders in Waukesha, Wisconsin. Here's the way I finish. Do you ever find time for yourself? You and your husband together, can you just get, even if it's a few moments here and there, to
No.
sustain you? No? Okay,
Not
that answers
currently.
that question.
It's kind of hard because we also have to relinquish some control and trust other people with Cameron. But it's just, we're still figuring him out too. And he's unaware of a lot of like impulse of like danger, and he doesn't really have much fear. So you always have to be like 2 steps ahead of him. And yeah, it's hard. And it's like the time we do have, when we do have some respite and some help, we're trying to catch up on 5 years of housework and or just trying to like catch up on some sleep or some rest. And it's few and far between, but again, I trust that God will send that to us when the time is right. I mean, this can't go on forever.
Where would you be without your faith, Molly?
Oh gosh, I'd probably be still in that really deep valley that was really dark and alone. I mean, I still feel lonely sometimes, but I don't feel lost.
Great example for all of you, just to keep going with our faith. Thank you, Homer.
Well, first of all, I think we have another candidate for a My Faith story. But Molly, I just want to thank you because I always say it's easy, but I don't know that yours is easy because your My Faith is so real. And, you know, the realization that God is great and you're grateful I'm in that, but also the realization and be willing to admit that there's sometimes that you're mad at God or disappointed in God. And I've felt that, and other people are kind of surprised when I say they're disappointed. I go, no, I've said, but God, you're just having a bad day. This is a bad day. They're like, you can't say that. No, that's what I'm feeling. Now, in the end, I always get answers. He's always willing to give me a peace of mind. But I think not everybody's willing to admit that. And you clearly are. And I mean, I think I'm accurate, right?
Yeah, and that also plays in a role where it, like, even with God, like a lot of people will say, oh, I wouldn't change a thing about our situation. You know, I wouldn't change a thing about our son or this or that, but I would change some things. I would like, why does he have to have all this medical situations? Why this, why that? And that does also play a role in God, because you're wondering, God, why? Like, really? And I always would then feel guilty about being mad, but then you forgive, and that's what God teaches us, and you move on. So
yeah,
I agree. That is pretty weird. I thought you guys were gonna be mad at me for being mad at God sometimes.
No, because I believe everybody is. They just won't admit it.
Yeah.
That's scary anyway. So thank you. It's I look forward to you watching and listening to this and your thoughts after you do. Because I think you'll like.
All right.
Molly,
And
yours is
please. I just want to throw out one more thing for DSAW. Like there is a big walk coming in September. If anybody's interested, and they can visit that website as well. I'm just throwing it out there. That's an annual zoo walk. So
Yeah, and there's a golf tournament coming up August 9th, Homer, and I have a small role in that. So we'll be at Loch LaBelle in Oconomowoc. Are you coming with Cameron and your husband?
we haven't yet did that, but we're always willing to try something new. I'm not sure if he's ready to golf yet, but I'm sure he will prove us wrong and probably golf really good. He likes
Dip and
proving
putt
us
around the
wrong.
green. He ride the cart with Homer. It's awesome. I just want to say, Molly, in addition to Homer's thanks, offering my gratitude, Brent Young, our wonderful producer, thank you for being a great woman of Christ. And thank you for an authentic faith, which is what Homer has as well. And that certainly inspires me in times of joy and times of sorrow. They say happiness is fleeting, but joy is forever in the Lord. So thanks a bunch on behalf of everyone who will see this.
Thank you.
All right. For our wonderful guest, Molly Cruz, thoughts and prayers for her, for Cameron, her great husband, for the Homer. For Brent Young, I'm Tommy Pippins. Thanks for joining us on My Faith with Homer and Pip. We pray again. It offers value and inspiration. We're all going to the same place, to and through the cross of Jesus Christ. God bless you, everyone. See you next time.